this is just so... I surely have lost friendships because she was threatening me she's gonna beat me up. Who doesn't do that? I'm starting another business.
That's because you're Balkan.
When I show up, people will say yes. Offer was for $10,000. How much harder people from Serbia had to work to make it in Italy than Italian. No problem. You don't want to be with me. There's so many guys that want to be with me. Hello my lovelies and welcome to another video. I'm just getting cozy. I hope you guys are too, because usually I know myself and these kind of videos tend to be a little bit longer than the others. So let's buckle up and let's see. The summer is kind of time when hopefully you all are taking time to relax, to reflect, to recharge, to think about what happens after summer, what happens when we start getting ready for winter and the new year, and all of that good stuff. I actually am kind of planning my content, and believe it or not, it's August, but we already spoke about Vlogmas today. So, you know, summer is time to also plan a little bit, even though we try to take time and reflect, and that's another reason why it's important to plan, because you want to kind of be prepared for what comes after all the relaxation and recharging. Maybe you've already had your holidays, maybe you're only yet to go on holidays, but either way, I hope you take some time for yourself as well these summer months. Or winter, in case you are in the southern hemisphere of our planet. Well, today I wanted to actually answer to a lot of your questions. I received hundreds. I want to say thousands, but I don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating. So I kind of went through the comments, I screenshotted some. I wanted them to be like, some of them more deep, others more personal, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, there are many questions that I'm going to respond to. I don't know which order I'm even going to go through. Before I start, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for each of your like, comment and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Bear in mind, I literally look at everything, and I know everything that's going on my social media platform, so I really appreciate every comment, every like, and every subscribe. So thank you. If you're new here and you love fashion, beauty, and all things luxury lifestyle, click subscribe and join me on this incredible journey. So first question, could you please share on how to deal with jealousy in a relationship? Actually, there were kind of like quite a few jealousy related comments and questions in this section of Q&As. I think like there'll be few of them that I'm gonna touch on, because I realized that it's clearly quite an important topic to discuss. I want to be very honest. And I know there's one question that often people ask, and that's like, are you a jealous person? And I'll tell you something honestly, I know myself very well. I've been in relationships and I'm not a jealous person by nature. But can someone make me feel jealous in relationship? Of course. There's no such a person that cannot be jealous in relationship. But I do think that if you are jealous in relationship, unlike your normal jealousy state, like let's say someone is not giving you any reasons to be jealous, like, you know, but you're still jealous, I would think that there's something weird in that relationship. Usually jealousy doesn't come out of nowhere. Maybe it's a bit of intuition. Why can you not have peace? Like, I'll tell you again honestly that I know that if my partner would go into an all naked sauna with 50 women, that I could still maintain peace in my head. Filippo never gives me any reasons for jealousy, and there is no that little feeling where I know something is wrong. So I think like very, very often that feeling is right, and unfortunately, unless like the partner is giving you no reasons for jealousy, yet you're still jealous, then I would think there's some kind of incompetency between the couple in the relationship. But hopefully we'll touch on that a little bit later. So just ask yourself honestly, what could it be? Some questions will be in Serbian, but I will translate them for you. You mentioned that you're starting your own brand. Can you please give us a hint? You're the best. I wouldn't really call it my brand just yet. I was recently mentioning that I'm starting another business. That's been a project in making for a very long time now. I want to say that like every little thing that I wanted to be perfect, and I'm not really a perfectionist by nature, but I wanted so many things in this project to be perfect. So everything that we as a team are working on is like with it to be like really, really, really perfect. I think it's gonna be very different, something that I'm very, very extremely passionate about. Before you guys start guessing, so you said to give you a hint. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's not a fashion brand. I think like someone's already asked me before if I'm gonna launch a fashion brand. Many times actually I get that question. And I'll tell you what I tell to my friends in real life. I hope nobody's gonna take me wrongly, but I just don't think that there's a need for another fashion brand at the moment. I feel like there are many fashion brands. I feel like as much as I want to say that the world is huge and that there's space for everyone, there is space for everyone. But do we really have a need as consumers for another fashion brand? I don't think so. I think like there's everything that we need already out there when it comes to fashion and clothing, that I genuinely do not think that I can give you anything better than what's already out there. So unless I can give you something, a product that is better than everything else that's out there, I'm not gonna launch it because I don't feel like there's space there for me. Why am I launching just for the sake of it? So that's the hint I can give you. That when I launch my other business is gonna be better in a category that it's better than anything else that's out there. I want to quit office job and have time to film more. Any tips how to combine and make it full-time job? I suppose influencing and social media creation. I'll tell you very honestly, the most productive I've ever been in my life was when I worked full-time in the pharmacy. I knew that my free time was so precious that I had to really make the most out of it. And it's funny because I would say that a lot of my friends who are mothers are also the most productive women I've ever met in my life. And that's because I think like when you have a lot of free time, somehow you manage to do less than when you don't have a lot of free time. Is it the whole scarcity like phenomenon that when we have less of time, we actually use it more efficiently because we value it more? I don't know, you tell me. But I definitely can tell you that when I worked full time, I utilized my weekends so well. Surely I was not really rested, and of course I needed more, I wanted more time off. I can tell you for a fact that time is all about good organization, and if you actually manage to organize your time well, you can definitely do more. Like I could probably film 45 TikToks a week, right? I could, definitely, but I don't. I don't film 45 TikToks a week, even though this is my full-time job. One could say, oh, I don't have time. You make time. I could make time, definitely. I'm not saying the quality would be the best, but with better organization, I could just do things differently as well. So I want to say that maybe sometimes it's even really good to try and develop a little bit of something and a bit of a social media following and a platform while you have a job, so that when you don't have a job anymore, you don't feel like you have to rely on sponsorships that you don't have to take. I think that's one thing that really was so important for me. I had the job and I had financial income, so that when I quit the job, I didn't actually have to do collaborations that I didn't want to do, or that didn't fulfill me, or that didn't make me happy. I said this story so many times. I was a pharmacist. I received a job for, I'll tell you now, $10,000. Offer was for $10,000. That was like 5 of my monthly salaries, even more than 5. And they offered me to go to New York Fashion Week, but to advertise an electronic cigarette. I think I can tell the story because it's what happened. And I had to say no, because I didn't feel like this would really be authentic, honest, and would work with the fact that I'm a pharmacist. I told you guys we'll see through that. That was at the very beginnings. It would have been like my first or second New York Fashion Week. So I said no, but if I didn't have any money and I had the rent to pay and bills to pay and I was stressed about my finances, I probably would have had to say yes, because there's no other option. So you cannot say I have integrity if you have no other choice but to say yes. You know what I mean? So I think having the job of a pharmacist, even though I had less time, I had more resources to actually build my career the way I wanted to build it. So I'm very grateful to my pharmacy career, even though it was short-lived. Kinda. How did you cope with pressure in your late 20s? Feels like I'm running against the clock. Late 20s are still so young. And now I'm probably risking of sounding like I'm so old, but I remember being 21, not even 21, I think I was like 19 or 20, and I was at university, and I realized that pharmacy wasn't something that I actually wanted to study at the time, because it wasn't like a path I was extremely interested in pursuing. All of my colleagues were saying how they're gonna take like hospital pharmacy or community pharmacy, or they're gonna be like involved in like clinical researches, or they're gonna work in like big pharma corps and etc. And I was like, I'll tell you honestly, I was like thinking I want to get a job in L'Oreal, because that's like closest to beauty and fashion world that I can imagine, but I just didn't even know how to start. I can tell you, in that moment, I felt I was only like 19 or 20, and I felt like it was too late to change my path because I was too old. And I cannot believe it, because honestly, even today, as a 36-year-old woman, it's not too late to change a career. And do you understand that most of the people become millionaires? Like the biggest millionaires in the world actually only became millionaires in their 50s. Being like late 20s and being lost in anything, whether it's love, whether it's career, whether it's whatever it is, please do not trust a jealous neighbor, an annoying, over-occupied with your life friend or whatever, telling you, it's too late and you don't have time. You have all the time in the world. People really make it in their 50s and in their 60s, and people change careers in their 40s, and women become today and nowadays mothers in their 40s. Things are changing. We do not live anymore in the times when you need to get married at the age of my parents and my grandparents. Like my grandmother was like 20 when she got married, and my mom was 21 when she got married. And for me, that's at 21, can I tell you that at 21 I had no idea about anything in life. I graduated when I was 22. I'll just leave it there, all right? And when I graduated and when I got a job, I was the most confused person about my life and my life path you can imagine. And if I could have figured it out, I think anyone can. I would say you're not running against the clock. You just need to try different things. If you feel like you're not getting like solutions, please try different routes. Albert Einstein said that insanity is to expect different results by doing the same thing. So that makes it clear. Hi Tamara, do you feel like being Balkan makes you unique in a certain way, in a good way? I'll tell you one thing. I think us Balkan people have this thing that we think we are the best. And I don't understand why, but I definitely had it when I first moved abroad. So we, for some reason, and I don't think it's a very positive thing, but we think that, oh, we are so like educated and cultured and great, and there's so much history on Balkan and so much things, which is all true. We have great education, we have great culture, we know a lot of things about history, about geography, about the world. It is all true, but that does not make us actually better than anybody else. I remember thinking when I come to England, I will get my dream job. Like, who would want to say no to me when I apply for the job? When I show up, people will say yes. And that was the biggest shock that I had to go through. For 1 year, I applied to more than 50 jobs, and people just said no constantly. One after another was like, no, 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 no. So that's when I realized that for some reason, we believe that we're special, and I believed I was special, but then it was literally like a big slap into my face, and I realized that, yes, there is a good base in there, but there's so much work that you have to do to compensate for all the other things that you haven't learned, that other nations and cultures and backgrounds have. I think that we have a lot of grit, so a lot of feistiness, and we are never lazy. Like, I honestly, like, if you already are not lazy enough and you're hardworking enough to move abroad, to go to another country, to go through all the like visa system, opening a new bank account, starting a new like life, connecting your new phone line and broadband, and finding a flat or flatmates and getting a job, that's already like, you're already a hardworking person for sure, and a gritty person. So I think that, hi Filippo, welcome to my video. So I do think that as people from Balkan countries, have a lot of grit and a lot of perseverance. We're not scared to go for it. But do I think I'm in any way special just because of where I come from. I don't think our backgrounds make us in that way better or worse. Nobody's better or worse based on where they come from. But it is truth, and you will notice if you read any books by Malcolm Gladwell, that somehow your country of birth, your month of birth, can make you more successful or less successful in life. But that's a whole other question. So according to where I was born, I basically was fighting against all odds to actually make it. Being born in the United Kingdom or United States or even Italy would have given me the initial boost that is like an extra potential for success. However, again, being born in another country, I knew...
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
I think it's a blessing to be born in a country like, that doesn't have all the advantage, like Italy and the United States, and because you are hungrier.
For sure.
You have to...
Surely you understand how much harder people from Serbia had to work to make it in Italy than Italian people.
But I said this already a few times, all the Balkan people I know, they're all very successful because they have to fight for it, So your strength, it's way, way bigger than someone that has everything,
I read a book, maybe it could have been a Malcolm Gladwell book also, but I read a book which says that a computer comes, like when you buy a MacBook, right? It comes with a Safari, which is the browser page you have. Mm-hmm. But the employees who have another browser are usually more successful. And not because they use a different browser, but because installing a browser that your computer doesn't already come with shows that you're trying to be resourceful to fix some problems. Like you don't only use the tools that your computer comes with.
Yeah.
So you don't only, when you're like from Serbia and you move to Italy, you're not only using Serbian language, your home country, your home city, your parents' house, your contacts that you already have. You are installing a whole new software by learning a new language, by opening a bank account in a different country, by learning how to fit in a new society.
But it's very simple. It's the more things you have access to, and easier is life, and less you have to work for it. Back in the days when I used to go to school, there was no computer, there was no Google. There was only the encyclopedia, Treccani.
I remember.
So you go to books, dictionary, the Latin, Greek, and that's it. Then you have, the computers, and then you have Google. Now you have the AI. So now you can, go to ChatGPT and ask anything you need, or you can just look for it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. When you come from a country that doesn't have all the benefits that, country like UK or Italy or Germany or US has, you have to work more,
We had this encyclopedia, La Russe.
Yeah, we have a Treccani.
Treccani.
It was the most famous in Italy. And, and actually it's, so that's the thing. When you come from a country that doesn't have all those, this access to everything,
Treccani.
like, Italy is about food and fashion and design, and we grow up in this environment. The environment of Serbia or Bosnia or Montenegro or Croatia in the 80s, 90s, it wasn't the environment that there was in Italy or in UK or in Spain or in Germany in the 90s. It's all about that. So I think you should be very proud because of your character, your personality, your strength. Look what you achieved. That's because you're Balkan. I'm not sure if you were Italian today, the same Tamara would have the same success. We don't know.
Maybe not.
And we never know. By the way, Balkan, the Italian is going to the supermarket.
Thank you very much.
If we want to eat.
On to the lighter question. Do you have any tattoos? I do not have any tattoos, and I never actually ever wanted to have a tattoo in my life. I don't know why. It's not my kind of thing. In my early 20s, I thought I don't want a tattoo because I get very easily bored with things. Like 1 week I want to cut off my bangs, 1 week I cannot even commit to nail art on my nails because after 2 days I'm bored. So can you imagine me with a tattoo? I don't think that would be very wise, You need to also know yourself in order to kind of make right decisions. And I think that like I have nothing against tattoos. I have a lot of friends with tattoos. I have a lot of people that I know who have tattoos. I don't get bored of their tattoos. I just get bored of my own, and I know myself. So I knew that was not going to be a wise choice for me. As you get older, do you notice that some friendships become less interesting to you? No, but not because I don't look into my friendships a lot, but simply because I have literally like 5 friends, and those have been my friends for so many years that they have already passed all the tests. So, you know, when I was in my like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, I had so many friends, and I was prone to get into friendships because I was fascinated by someone, or because I thought someone was so much fun to party with, or because someone was just like really like cool. All of those friendships kind of at one point fizzle out, and I'm sure there isn't a person or planet Earth that has not lost a friendship. I'll tell you that. I surely have lost friendships very often because of like not even that significant of a reason. In fact, pretty much always it was because like a series of things that have happened, and in the end I was just like, no thanks, this is not even a friendship, you know what I mean? But when you're 36, hopefully you would have already realized that by now. But also it could be that maybe life just never positioned itself in a way that you can understand that certain friendships weren't right. So I think I told you recently that someone's told me how they were always the person contacting a friend, and then once they stopped contacting the friend, the friendship disappeared. So clearly it wasn't even friendship, but they just never put themselves in a position to test it. So I think like, because I don't have so many friends, it's very easy for me to understand that I have 5 real friendships, and that everything else around is friends that I have a glass of wine with, or friends that I go shop with, or friends that I go party with, or friends that I talk to, or friends that I discuss different topics with. But those are not like the 360 friends. You know, 360 friends are the friends that answer the phone at 3 a.m., are friends that care about you like their family members. So that's very rare, I think. Next question, very good question actually. Are you sick of shopping and buying stuff? I can completely understand why it would seem like I could become sick of shopping and buying stuff, but it is my job, first of all, to be constantly like, do you understand that there isn't a day, not one day, that I don't open my Theresa and Net-a-Porter. There's not one day that I don't open the new in on Net-a-Porter and my Theresa. And that's because I need to do research. I need to constantly know what are brands doing, what is new, what is landing now. So most of the collections I would see in February and September. And then when I'm opening the wholesale websites, I can see what's landing this week, what's landing these days. Okay, it's the pre-spring. It's the spring. It's the resort collection. You know what I mean? So for me, it is a huge part of my job, first of all. Second of all, shopping also means that I can buy things and I can test them, and I can tell you when something is great, and I can also tell you when something is not so great. I think I specifically tell you when something is not so great with skincare, with beauty, but also with fashion. When I try something on in a try on and I'm like, this doesn't look like how I wanted it to look, or this is too sheer, this is see-through, this is too long, this is too short, this doesn't look good on tall girls, this doesn't, you know what I mean? So that is a big part of my job, and I don't know, I think I approach it a little bit differently than how I used to approach it. Definitely one thing is I don't go a lot to stores. Not a lot, I still go to stores, but not like a crazy amount. I don't like so much the physical experience. I love like going to, for example, Miu Miu. I love going to Prada. Of course, I love going to Hermes. There are shops that I love to go to, but there are shops that I prefer to check out online. Please give us some relationship advice. What nice things can we do for our man? I think tell you one thing that is very important that we can do for our man. I think this is also nice because it's not focusing on just what men can do for us, but I think like when we love our man, we can listen to them a little bit better and try and identify what is it really that they need. I don't think like the negative male propaganda is all true. I'm a big girl's girl, okay? I'm always on girl's side. I don't care. Even if the girl is wrong, I'll probably be on the girl's side. But I have to say that it's so important to listen to our partners. And very often men are painted like these people without feelings or without empathy. And I don't think it's always true. So I think that's always something also important to remember. If it's a good man, he's also trying to do his best. You know, like every time Filippo annoys me because like he didn't hear something and I told him like 3 times I had to repeat something, or again he lost something, or you know, like the little silly things, I just remind myself who is he as a man and how good of a man he is, and I just cannot get mad at him. It's like, it's crazy. Oh, the next question. How did you know he's your soulmate? So I want to say that like I always told you, I knew from the first date. And it's true that I knew Filippo was different to any other guy that I dated on the first date, because the men I dated, especially one horrific man I dated before, but the men I dated were so braggy. They would love to brag with things that they very often didn't even have, or didn't even know, or they didn't even possess. I'm not talking about material stuff, I'm talking about everything, okay? Men just loved to impress me by bragging, and I was never impressed. I always knew like, oh my god, this is just so... And on the first date with Filippo, he was not trying to impress me at all. He was so modest, he was so sweet, he was just like very realistic, and I just thought that was such a breath of fresh air. And I really got so interested in him because he did little things. Like when I was sitting at the table, he stood up, he pulled out the chair, he cut my fish for me. He did little things, you know. Out of courtesy, of course, at the end of the first date, I offered to pay or split the bill because it's like a test, no? And he was like, absolutely no. Like there were so many, of course, like, I mean, I think on the first date, a guy should pay, especially if he invited you on that date, right? But I just knew that I had a very good feeling about him. And I want to say that, how did I know he was my soulmate? I don't really know. It's easy now to say, oh my god, he's my soulmate. I don't know if there's such a thing as soulmate. I just think there are good compatibilities and non-good compatibilities. But if you ever spend 1 hour with Filippo and me, he just had a massage. So our masseuse was around and she was like, we were together for 10 minutes and she was like, the love between you guys is like insane. We really love each other so much, and I don't know if that's gonna last forever. I don't know what life brings tomorrow because I'm very, very realistic person. But I can tell you one thing, is that nothing ever felt like this. I felt like I always knew in the past that that wasn't really working, but I wanted to force it. It's like trying to fit a circle-shaped object into a square. And it doesn't work, but you're forcing it and you're pushing it and it doesn't work, but you're still closing an eye, like blind eye, and trying to push a circle in a square. So with Filippo, it just like fits. That's it. What romantic place in Italy would you recommend for a date with my husband? For sure, I would recommend the Belmont Hotel Caruso in Ravello, where Filippo and I got engaged. Is that okay, or is that too cheesy? I'm sorry, but I love it. Okay, I told you that there is gonna be a lot of content about jealousy. So how to deal with jealousy. My boyfriend is working with girls and I just can't stop overthinking. But why are you overthinking? Female intuition is not to be ignored. If you're overthinking, I don't want to like bring negative news, but I have a feeling like where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not just like out of a reason. Or maybe you think that you do not deserve your boyfriend. Do you feel like you guys are not on the same level? Because that's something you can work on. You can work on your confidence. You can try and get like more confident, because that's something you definitely have then space to work on. Filippo definitely, majority of his life worked with girls and in girl offices, like female offices. And all of the girls that he works with are beautiful. They work in fashion. They're fashionable, but there's not like ever been 1% reason for me to be jealous at his colleagues. I mean, I don't know what kind of girl is, but I think that if you feel like you are the right woman for your partner, there's no other woman that can make you feel jealous. Or you are the right woman, but your partner is not the right partner for you, and that's giving you the thoughts. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anybody else has an input on this? Let us know. This question asks if I was ever part of peer bullying, like in school. Guys. I was bullied in school since kindergarten. No, I wanted to say since like 5th grade in elementary school, but no, I was bullied since kindergarten. There was this girl called Dina. I name and shame her, that's her name, okay? In Novi Sad in my kindergarten, and she used to tell me in the kindergarten, so bad actually, this is even a racial slur, it's not even gonna come out of my mouth. She basically called me a not so nice word used to describe Roma people. It was every day, it was every day, every single day. And then one day I came home crying, I was 5, and I told my sister. My sister came next day to the kindergarten. My sister was 11, and I'll just tell you that this girl never, ever, ever called me a bad name again. So, a round of applause for my sister. So that one time, my sister really stood up for me, but I got a little bit embarrassed because I was getting bullied quite a bit, and I wasn't coming home to my sister with problems, especially because when I was 11, my sister moved to England, and it was then just me at home. And I was getting bullied a lot, especially when my sister moved to England, because she would bring me the most beautiful clothes, or at least I thought it was the most beautiful clothes, from England. And I was getting a lot of envy from my peers, so I was getting bullied a lot. Not only was I bullied in school, I was also bullied by these like 12, 13-year-old girls in school where I was doing like private lessons in English in Novi Sad, in my hometown. And I literally know these girls' names even today, okay? And I mean, I'm sure they grew up in like women and they're fine and like they're great. But I know these girls even today, but I'll never forget that one day after the English class, one of these girls, she grabbed me by my arm and I was like, this is it. Because she was threatening me, she was gonna beat me up, right? And she came so close into my face and I was like, this is it. But nothing happened. And then I was so scared to go back to English that I started skipping the English classes. And eventually the private school, like they knew my parents very well. They knew my whole family. They were the ones who helped send my sister abroad, etc. And they just, without contacting my parents, I guess they realized something was going on. They just changed my class. And all of a sudden I was like in the best possible class with the best teacher and everything was amazing. But then, you know, in high school, again, I got bullied a lot. I got bullied by a person that today works in HR. Because of course I check my main bully on LinkedIn. Of course I check my bully on LinkedIn. Like, who doesn't do that? I check all my bullies out to see how their lives have turned out. And most of their lives turned out terrible. So I'm not happy about it, but I'm human. So I just like to say that, you know, but I'll tell you one thing. Today, when I see someone get bullied, I get involved. I don't stand. Like, we were boarding a plane the other day, and Philip and I were flying business class, and there was an older lady. You know, this was not even being bullied, but when I see someone being in an unfortunate position, I freak out, okay? I saw someone being pulled aside because they wanted to board the plane, but they were like a group 4, whatever. So when it was my turn, and this woman started crying because she was very stressed about flying or whatever. And I said, we're both flying business, we both have gold, like, cards. I said, these 2 women, the one that was crying and the other one, they're our +1s. So they boarded the plane with us. I cannot stand and watch someone being distressed, someone being stressed, someone being pushed aside because I was bullied, I was pushed aside, I was threatened. Even in high school, I'll never forget, in the 1st grade of high school, so that's like 15, I saw someone on the street and I texted her like, hey, I see you like in your white boots. But she thought I was being rude about it. I just wanted to tell her that I saw her from the other side of the street. And I received a message from her friend saying like, I'm gonna like kick your head, like I'm gonna hit you in the head with a white boot tomorrow into school. I came home, I was so scared. I told my mom I was sick and I didn't go to school the next day. Basically, I was constantly being threatened by girls, but from this perspective, I realized why. I've always had a very strong personality, so I always was like a bit cheeky and like playful, but at the same time, I had best grades. Like I had all the A's, okay? I had all the A's. I was constantly going out. Every weekend I was out in a club and I was having A's. And besides that, I always cared about fashion and beauty. So I always made sure that I look good, that I'm dressed up. I put a lot of pride in the way I look, which obviously caused a lot of envy, but also agitation and frustration. And it's a topic, you know, it's a topic also in my therapy. So that's it. I'd love to know how to build a personal brand online. It's so overwhelming. I'll tell you one and only and the best advice, I think. Building a personal brand online, you will do a great job just by being yourself and being authentic. I did not choose to be this girl that does like luxury lifestyle or luxury or things like that. I honestly never sat down and thought like, oh, let me do these unboxings. From tomorrow, I'm gonna be, I don't know, like traveling to the mountain and being so whatever. I just document what I do every single day. People tell me like, oh my God, your personal brand is so strong. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just being me. And I've always just been me. I show you where we go. People say like, why don't you put more effort in your content to do different kind of things? And I'm like, honestly, all I do is what I do, what I live. I don't force anything. I don't go to Bali for a month to a spiritual retreat because that's not like what I do, you know? Like I don't do yoga in India for 4 weeks because it would be so good for the brand or like it would make me look more spiritual. I just do what I like. That is it. This is it, okay? What you see online is who I actually am, and I document my life. That is turned out to be my personal brand, who I actually am. And I guess like if Filippo was doing his daily vlogging, you would understand that his personal brand is this spiritual guru who actually really loves sport, kicks ball even if he sees it in a Miu Miu boutique, loves sports, loves deep conversations. You know what I mean? It just doesn't care about luxury and loves fashion. So at the end of the day, being true to yourself will be the fastest way to build your personal brand. But if you sit down and you're like, okay, I want to be this like old luxury person, and I don't know what that means. It means like I should play golf and ride horses and dress in this way, and you try to like constantly make your life like this fake scenario. It's like so obvious. It's the most obvious thing like that you can see from the space. How to set boundaries with your parents when you're an adult. They're not nice but too intrusive. Setting boundaries is always a difficult job with your friends, with your colleagues, with your parents, especially so when there are feelings involved. My therapist says this because I told her a few times that I had to tell people, no, stop breaking through my boundaries, and had to reinforce my boundaries. I actually felt bad afterwards. And she said, yeah, because setting boundaries is a job. It's not a pleasant experience. Setting boundaries is never going to be a pleasant experience because all of a sudden you're building a wall but you're telling the other. It's like on the plane, sometimes you have to lift the, you know, like little window between you and your neighbor. It's not very pleasant. It's like saying, hey, I don't want to look at you for the next 8 hours of the flight, you know, but I don't, and that's my right. And everybody has right to set their boundaries. And other people who are breaking into your boundaries and are trying to crash them, well, they can try, but it's your job to constantly keep your boundaries up and to keep reinforcing them. And I think sometimes boundaries can actually break friendships. It has happened to me in the past that setting boundaries has killed a friendship, but then I think it wasn't even a friendship then. You know what I mean? Someone was just trying to be intrusive all the time. So think about that. Okay, next question. When will you visit Montenegro? Actually, we wanted to visit Montenegro this year. I wanted to bring a lot of my foreign international friends. You guys saw we were in Capri, right? So I wanted to bring a lot of like big influencers from the world with like several millions of followers and important people such as like my friend Kate. She's like a publicist for, I don't know, like Madonna, like, you know, like cool people. My friend Mimi, like she is a stylist for many celebrities, etc. Guys, Montenegro, my friend said, Tamara, we don't want to go there. It's more expensive than anywhere else in the world. So we tried to find options, but it ended up that I couldn't convince them to go in the end because Montenegro was going to be more expensive to visit than Capri. I couldn't convince them in the end. And also the flights were too difficult and then whatever. How do you measure your success? I just compare myself to myself before. I'll never forget once I was going to a fashion show. It was like 2018, 19, I can't remember. And I was a bit like stressed and I was like, I don't know, like, I have to do this now. And my assistant at the time said, and she was so right, she said, hey, don't forget this is what you really wanted. And she was so right. And I actually very often remember her saying that because she was great in like really saying the right things. So I think that I just try to remember that this is what I really wanted that from the beginning. And if I'm feeling any kind of failure, because I feel a lot and I get a lot of rejections and I still get a lot of failure every day, which I'm not at all embarrassed to admit because it happens every day. And the higher you get and the more successful you get, the more rejections you get because you're more exposed. But I expose myself, I put myself there, so it doesn't feel so painful. You know what I mean? This is another thing that I'm doing in therapy. Like when you expose yourself and you know that the potential result could be rejection, it feels a little bit less than when you didn't even expose yourself and someone rejects you. So I put myself in this situation and I'm so fortunate that I can actually live through so many things that I've dreamt of doing 10 years ago. I'm unfulfilled in my job, but salaries are very high. I'm too scared to start something of my own. Very reasonable, I think. I think there are two kinds of people. People who settle for a very, very low salary, but they are comfortable at their job and they feel like it's okay, I don't have to do that much. I have a lot of freedom at work. It's not really great salary, but the job itself is so easy and so comfortable. And then there are people who are very uncomfortable at their jobs, who put themselves out of certain, I don't know, like comfort zone. They don't like it, it's not fulfilling, but it's a very high salary. So I think that both are a bit of a trap, but you just have to tell yourself like, hey, this is your priority. If your priority is money, then that is fine. And if your priority is a lot of freedom at work and you are happy with less money, not happy, but that is the second box you want to tick, that's also fine. But if money and fulfillment at the job are the same size boxes, then you might want to ask yourself. If you're thinking about starting something on your own, I think it's always good to kind of like try and start your business on the side if your contract at work allows that, and see if you can do both things at the same time so that the jump is a little bit less scary. Do you regret any of the cosmetic procedures you got done for your appearance? Not at all. I mean, I think you guys, I've just recently inserted some of my pictures that were from like, I don't know, like when I was 20, because I was showing how I had these like very, very, very thin eyebrows. And in all the pictures, everything I could see was my old nose. And I was like, wow, I'm very happy. Do you consider a facial, like a laser facial, a cosmetic procedure? I don't know. I don't think so, probably not. I don't regret getting a nose job and I don't regret fixing my teeth because now I smile so much more and I'm so much happier with my smile. My bite is wider. I think I've done what I could. I could have done more. I could have done like a whole jaw surgery. I could have probably fixed so many asymmetries, but this is what I wanted to change. I've changed and I think it's great. I don't think I would have probably regretted it even if I wasn't so happy because I like to experiment. I think you have spoken about this briefly before, but how do you handle imposter syndrome? Now, I tell you something, honestly, my imposter syndrome isn't actually that bad. Now, in hindsight, when I think about it, it was never really that bad. And I think the reason is because my whole life I have been an imposter. I think you guys know the story. When I was 3, my parents refugeed from Sarajevo to Novi Sad, so immediately I was a foreigner at the age of 3. When I started school, well, my parents spoke differently to how other kids' parents spoke. Everything was different about us. Always was everything. Like, you know what I mean? And in the school where I went, nobody really was at that time Bosnian like I was. So I always felt like different. I would go to supermarket when I was 6 and 7 and ask for something that my mom would send me for, and at supermarket they would tell me like, we don't call it that name in this country. So I was always an imposter. Then when I was 18, I moved to England and I was texting my friend, my first friend that I met, and I signed the message SMS, I sent kisses at the end, because in Serbia back in the day we would say ljubim te at the end of the message, which would mean like kisses. And she said, lol, we don't say kisses, we send XX at the end of the message. So there were so many constantly like situations where I felt like an imposter in any possible situation, that then when I came working in fashion as a pharmacist, I was like, just the same pattern was continuing. So actually, I'm used to pretending that I'm not an imposter because I've done it my whole life. Who is it to say that we're not all imposters? I think we all are imposters, by the way. Think about that. Do you ever buy things for the sole purpose of creating content? No, in all honesty, I do order a lot more than I keep. Not a lot more, like probably like 20-30% more than I keep. and then I return the things I don't like. But I sometimes order a lot of more stuff that I don't even create content with. So. What is your biggest love advice for someone who hasn't found their partner? What I mentioned earlier about career. If you are constantly trying to find a partner the same way that you've always done it, like in your local bar, library, nightclub, app, try something else. Try open yourself up to different opportunity. If it's not working what you're doing and you're doing it for a long time, try do something else. Expecting different results but doing constantly the same thing is insanity. And the last one, what would you do with unlimited additional resources? This is a question that my friends and I speak about. If I didn't have to work to provide for myself and to have a job, if I could not work but have a lot of money, I would open an animal shelter and I would take care of so many animals. And like one day when I'm so rich that I can just have so much money, I will have a farm with so many dogs, cats, horses, sheep, goat, any animal you can imagine. And I'm gonna love them and take care of them and rescue them, and that's it. Can you share what you wore on your graduation? What would you wear today? I'll insert the picture, what I wore. I don't know if you can see it. I wore like a silk dress, actually tight, like kind of cut like the classic Dolce & Gabbana dresses now when I think about it. Back in the days, I got it at Karen Millen. I got 2 dresses there, one for the graduation ceremony and one for the like lunch after. Today, the fashion is different, so kind of difficult to say, but today I would probably wear a suit, or if I wanted a dress, I'd probably wear something from Cos because that's probably what I could afford. And yeah. How you deal with toxic relationships at work, friendship, etc. Back in the days, I used to really put up with toxicity. Like I said this so many times before. I had a friend who would like constantly call me like fatty, and she would tell me like, oh, let me park out because you're fat and you cannot get in the car. There were so many of these little comments. Then whatever I would say, she would like roll her eyes. Or whenever I would buy something new, she would say like, yeah, but that's the ugliest color. Or whenever she wouldn't be center of attention of my male friends, she would kick a fuss and want to go home. Back in the days, I used to put up with that. You know, it takes 2 also to tango. So maybe toxicity is also caused by me. You know, maybe she was toxic because I was kind of making her toxic. But there's no need for that. So if I'm making her also a worse person, we are not a good match. However, I think it's very easy to say that with friendships, but at workplace, I think very, very difficult. The best thing probably would be to not overthink it at home because you develop a lot of frustration and resentment, but to try and ignore that person as much as possible. Don't even give them time of the day. I don't think even being good to these people helps because they're just nasty and that's it. How do you keep discipline around food, workout, or so much travel? For me, discipline is the easiest thing in the world because I simply think discipline is a muscle. Like if I tomorrow decide to never shop again, I will never, like for 2 years to not shop, I will not shop. If I decide to not eat sweets, I will not eat sweets. If I decide to, I don't know what, but there isn't a thing that I can't stick to so far. So very, very easy to me. I even like in the past when I realized men were not good for me, but I still really like them. It was so easy for me to cut all contact, like 0 contact, and that's it. Do you think you attracted Filippo once you've healed? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I just was constantly, I was attracted by wrong kind of guys and I was lying to myself when I was meeting them, and I finally met a good guy that was first of all available because I'm the kind of girl, this all of my friends know this and all of my colleagues know this and all of my wider circle knows this. If a guy's taken, for me, he doesn't exist. I would never look at a guy that's in a relationship. And if my friends want to date a guy that's in a relationship, I don't support this. This for me is not okay. Of course, it's something else if a guy lies to you and he doesn't tell you he's married. It's not your fault. He's the freaking douchebag. I cannot even discuss that. But Filippo was available. He was extremely kind, extremely confident, and completely different to all the insecure men that I was running into until then. So when I finally saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is something new. Your favorite places to eat in Capri? I'm visiting soon. Anything to do? So I've recently mentioned this, but we have a live section on the blog And there you can find different places that we recommend in Capri, in Saint-Tropez, in Milan, in many different cities. So I hope it helps. Would you put breast implants for fashion-related stuff like better fittings, aesthetics, etc.? Absolutely not. We're talking about fashion that I work in, right? In fashion, it's actually considered much more fashionable being fully flat-chested. I think my personal opinion is that breasts are beautiful as long as they're healthy. And I say this as someone who has family history of breast cancer. So I wanted to especially answer this question because I want to remind all of you to please, 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 please check your breasts. Doesn't matter how old you are. Like in Serbia, the advice is only like 50 and above, I think. In England, it's much sooner and much earlier. And I really would like to urge you guys to check your breasts. And if you're quite young, go and like maybe too young for mammogram, then go and do an ultrasound test. It's so easy. It's 5 minutes. And it can change so much. To go back on the question, I don't think that it's important to have big breasts for fashion industry or for the line of job that I work in. But if you feel like you need to have bigger breasts, or if you feel like it will make you feel more feminine, or it will make some issue that you have go away, then of course, like I would support that. If my child comes to me and she wants to have a breast augmentation because something bothers her, I would say, okay, but not for the sake of working in fashion industry at all. Another question that says, I've been single for 10 years. No one seems to click. How did you find love? Don't forget the quote I've given you. Female problems such as period, how do you live with that considering your lifestyle? Guys. I got my first period when I was 12, or like a month before I turned 12. So I've been living with it for like 20 years now and more. And obviously I learned to live with it. I have to tell you that, like an anecdote that I probably haven't, I'm sure I haven't shared, but it's something that Annabelle and I laugh about. So on the day of the Chloe show, Fashion Week, September 24, I got my period on that day and I wore this white see-through outfit. I was so stressed that I will have a problem because also day one. And the day one is the day that you need like the most support. Let's just put it that way. But nobody asks you, hey, is your period due? Because no, that's it. Get up and go. I also haven't spoken about this. It's true, we were talking about it today, so I'm quite inspired. On the day of Ferragamo and Dolce show of the last Fashion Week, the whole night I was throwing up until 9 a.m. The Ferragamo show was at 11. And I was, I'm sorry, projectile vomiting because I got some kind of food poisoning or something. I don't know what happened. And I was worried that I will projectile vomit at the show on the runway. But I felt so bad. I didn't have a virus because it was like quick in and out. That night I worked till 1 a.m. and I wouldn't expect this from other people on my team, but that's how I was unfortunately raised by my parents, I guess. I think, I don't know. That's also not really true because whenever I was sick, my parents forced me to lie in bed and I just never wanted to. So maybe it's not even their fault. Maybe this time I cannot actually blame them. How did you approach the marriage and kids conversation with Filippo? My Italian boyfriend left me because I asked. That's okay. I literally raised all the important topics in the first month with Filippo. Do you want to get married? If no, no worries, don't waste my time. Do you not want to have kids? If no, no worries, don't waste my time. Do you not want to be with me? No problem. You don't want to be with me. There's so many guys that want to be with me. And there's so many guys that want to be with you. There are hundreds of guys out there. They're dying to be with you. You're just not giving them a chance because you're not getting to know them. You're not like putting yourself out there. So one thing that you need to keep in mind is that if that guy doesn't want you, he needs to move out of the way for you to get to the other one that wants you. End of story. So simple. This for me is the simplest concept there is. Also, if someone doesn't want me, somehow my confidence is built in such a way that if he doesn't want me, I don't want him either. Goodbye. How it comes you're so consistent through all of these years? I'm following you since 2011. I don't know, but somehow I think that consistency is the most important thing in life, in everything, in anything, in a relationship, in a career, in school. Consistency is the key. And that's the only thing I believe in. I, in general, only like things I can rely on. And I think consistency is the only thing that actually depends on me. Next question I really love. How to find a partner better than yourself if you're a very successful woman? Why should you find a partner better than you? I don't think anybody should find a partner better than themselves. I think people need to find a partner as good as themselves, because just think about finding a partner better than you, or you think he's better than you. It doesn't matter if he's not. Clearly, if you want to find a partner that's better than you, you have to think he's better than you. And if you find a partner that's better than you, you're immediately putting yourself in like a bad position. And even if you're better than him, you're putting himself in a worse position. In general, finding someone who's better than you, whole of the relationship, you're gonna fear that maybe you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, you're gonna get jealous, you're gonna feel insecure, and you will not be the best possible version of yourself. But finding a person that is as good as you, and you're both good for each other, is the key. So constantly searching for someone better than you, like more educated, more successful, more better looking, all of these things. I think, like, okay, let's say you can be better looking, he can be a little bit worse looking, but maybe he can be making more money and you're making less money. Maybe you can be equally successful in different fields. Maybe he can be more emotional, but you're more pragmatic. But you know, at the end of the day, when you put everything on the scale, you guys need to be on the same level. And I think that is the key. If you want someone very successful, now clearly you're very successful according to your comment, so no offense, but I don't like when there are girls not working on themselves, not doing anything besides getting their nails done and their facials done or their hair done, but they want to find this guy that is like super rich and super successful and will change their life. How about you first work on your life and you get successful and you get good, and then find a guy on the same level? Because think about tomorrow, if you have a son who is very successful, he studied at a very prestigious university, he got a great job, he's such a good guy, and then he finds a girl that is just getting her nails done all day long. I wouldn't be very happy as a mother, but equally so as a mother of a daughter that is very studious and hardworking and successful. Finding a guy that is like, you know, scrub, if you know, you know, and who is just doing nothing is a mega no. Very random, you mentioned that you get waxes. Is there a health reason over laser? No, I've actually had my whole body lasered, but I get waxes because it's not perfect. And I like to be hairless, you know? It's almost perfect. It's like 85%. I'm 85% hairless, but still the 15% are important. Talk more about your team. You don't work with an agency anymore. I still work with an agency, but I think having an in-house team is extremely important, because I think relying on an agency 100% is also unfair to the agency. You also need to put in the work. I don't know any single person that agency has changed their career. Agency is just there to help and assist and include you in projects, but again, you need to do 85% of the work. I think we're gonna stop here, guys, because I'm exhausted. I'm also hot and I need to take some water. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you guys have some good answers to these questions to our people, because this is one big community of like-minded people, and if you guys have something better to say and to help to one of our viewers, please get involved in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.